Video, just going to be a session recap, a one shot that I ran a little while ago. One shot was called, I believe it was called the Black Mountains. Not quite the Mountains of Madness, but it was a pretty good game. I constructed it for a couple of my buddies. It was set in the same universe as our Legends of the Seven Sands game, but on the other side of the Black Mountains, hence the name. We're starting it up to give a try out for the Warhammer Fantasy 2nd Edition rule set. I had not played a game with it. I've read it extensively. It is a very good system. Of course, their setting is excellent as well. I'm running the game in it right now. Return of the Rune Fangs. But for the purposes of this one-shot, our intrepid adventurers, which is a term I hate, but our intrepid adventurers, for the purposes of a one-shot, were on a caravan, and they were heading south from Teldrassil down into I think into the Dwarfholm Mountain, the capital of dwarven culture and civilization. And on their way through the mountain pass, on a dark and stormy night, they came across two armies blocking the trail. Essentially, there was an army of orcs on the cliff face, which they were traveling across on this narrow ledge, which the caravan was attempting to traverse. And down in the valley below, the hideous beastmen, satyrs, minotaurs, and centaurs were attacking them with their crude slings and javelins. The orcs were much better. I think they had a couple of bows, but they were rolling rocks down. And anything rock and roll, that's okay by me. So during the conflict, the master of our caravan was trying to decide what to do. Do we go back? How can we turn around on this ledge? Do we try to fight our way through this battle? And unfortunately, they were interrupted by a great scream from up above. The crash of thunder as the rain poured down, and the Troll King was standing above them, the king of the orcs, and he rolled an enormous boulder down. Now, our heroes, portrayed here by James Randall Toodaloo Mikatuk Duffy, who's my good friend who's from Salak Island. He's an Inuit person. And our other players, I believe we had Aaron Scott was in there, and Joshua Powers Pullman, the MVP of the Kitchener RPG scene. So they were all in the same wagon, and the boulder crushes it, just smashes into the wagon, explodes in 1,000 pieces, and they all black out. That's how we start off our one-shots. So when we rejoin our intrepid adventurers, they're waking up on the slopes covered in rocks, buried under debris. The wagons are smashed around, and there's corpses of orcs and satyrs, minotaurs, all over the place. And actually, the sun is just setting down over the black woods, so they know they've been unconscious all day, all three of them. They managed to, rouse each other, and as they're pulling themselves from the wreckage and the rubble, the corpses of the crushed satyrs and orcs, they start to moan, they start to groan, they start moving, because they're reanimating as zombies, having not been given a proper burial, obviously. So our heroes, band together, and they see that they're in the midst of a battlefield, and it is coming back to life. And now both sides are united in their lust for their flesh. So they can either scrabble up the hill or run off into the woods. So the Black Mountains or the Black Forest. The Black Forest is so named because all the trees have a dark gray bark, and the leaves are kind of a midnight blue, very dark blue coloration to them. The Black Mountains, of course, are actually just next to these mountains of fire, volcanic ash pouring down. It's the reason that they are black. But I digress. Our heroes can move up the mountain face or off into the forest. So as a GM, I'd prepared this as a referee. So their big branching point. And I had kind of separate opportunities prepared for them for adventure. Either way, in the forest, I had a hedge maze with a minotaur at the center, who's a terrible cultist of Lord Hydros, who was a kind of Cthulhu mythos entity in our campaign setting. So when our heroes decided to move in that direction, I got my notes out, Minotaur. I got out my my map of the maze to confound and befuddle them. But unfortunately, it was not to be, as you shall see. They're chased into the forest by the zombies who are reanimating, these slow, shambling zombies, going downhill in the dark, thick forest. Lots of roots on their feet, and I believe someone fell, and the zombies almost got him, like a good horror movie. I think it was James, and he crawled up into the tree though, and we all know zombies can't climb trees. So he managed to escape through the trees. I think he helped his allies dispatch that one zombie who had been on his trail. And they started to move off into the forest, trying to find their way around so they could make their way to the dwarf home mountain on foot without a caravan. So they came into an area on my map that I had marked off with giant spiders. So they're rolling perception at night. They don't have dark vision. They're all, I believe they're all humans. And they're failing. Fail. You don't see nothing. You're walking through the woods, I'm describing, they see certain things. They see, the stars shining through the foliage and the moon rising, but they don't see the spider webs thickening all around them. And they don't see the baby spiders crawling around until finally, I believe James, again, James walked into one of them and he just, boing, he snapped up and he's hanging in midair, caught in the spider's web. The spider starts crawling out of the tree. Everyone starts trying to hack at the web to pull him loose, and I believe Aaron's character, no, it was Josh. Josh's character had a little bit of magic on him. He was like a hedge wizard, but he did actually have enough magical energy to throw some fire up, and I believe, I'm not sure if he was trying to scare the spider or burn the web off, but we did some rolling on his accuracy with that fireball, and he set the web on fire, and so they pulled James free and they start stumbling off. The spiders are starting to track them like a pack of wolves up in the tree canopy. Tracking them through the woods at night, and they're stumbling into more spider webs, trying to burn their way free again. And pretty soon, I'm getting another. I'm rolling in private for the fire in the woods, and eventually I had to roll them some perception, and they noticed, oh, good, the forest is on fire. So they started an enormous forest fire, trying to get free of these spiders. And as they're running through the forest, and the forest fire is catching up with them, eventually they came through this creek. It wasn't even a river. It's just shallow ass creek. And they lay down in the creek and they start crawling along, trying to just survive the fire, not immolate themselves, ignite their flesh. So they crawled through the river as the forest is blazing around them, and eventually it emptied out onto a little grotto underneath the Black Mountains, and the grotto is it's like a big clearing in the woods. It's got a kind of a cliff coming up and a waterfall coming down into a pool or pond that's feeding this creek. So yeah, so much for my minotaurs and my hedge maze. They probably defeated it just by burning it all down without knowing it. But now, I figure as a referee, we'll switch gears. They will do the mountain encounters. Excellent. So They come into this grotto, and they start tending to their burns, and I think James had a spider bite on him as well. And I believe there was a brief scuffle with some harpies, or hawkmen, being the male harpies. And they managed to dispatch them, some readied attacks for when the aerial combatants swooped down into the sky, their talons flashing in the pale moonlight. And then they started to ascend up this cliff face. Essentially, it was kind of like a winding ledge on the side of the cliff face. It went up behind the waterfall and out the other side, and it looked like it was going up. And seeing as how the forest was on fire, this proved to be that they hoped this would be their route to escape. So as they're coming up through, though, they see that there's a cave underneath the waterfall, which has been carved out by it, along this mountain trail, this cliff ledge, and they start. I believe. James has had enough of adventure being full of spider venom and burns, so he just snuck by and started climbing up. Whereas Aaron, leave it to Aaron Kenderson Scott, always plays a Kender. He started exploring this cave, sort of wandering inside and seeing what was there. You start seeing like some coffers and chests laid out. There's some armor and weapons. It looks like someone's treasure cache. But as he started to get closer to the back, he started seeing like skeletons and dead bodies laying around of orcs and beastmen. And eventually, so this big boulder at the back of the cave, all covered up in moss, and he was wondering, what could have done this. And I had him roll stealth, since he said he was progressing stealthily, and he wasn't actually, based on his roll, wasn't actually progressing that stealthily. The big rock turns around and glares at him, like blinking, like he's woken up. Was actually a rock troll. And it chased him out of the cave. He starts running. Actually, I think he ran out of the cave. Josh was standing in the mouth of the cave still, kind of casting some light in with his magic. And Aaron ran right past Josh and jumped off the cliff face through the waterfall. And the waterfall pushed him, boom, pushed him right down into the lake, the small lake below. And he's gone. And make some swim checks, big guy, and let me know how you did. And then the rock troll comes, lumbering out, staggering out after Aaron, and finds Josh standing there. And it starts to it just starts to move to eat him. It's just like, oh, meat, good, yes, meat come to grog. I think it was grog. Yeah, so he just moves to grab Josh and bite his head off. And Josh starts rolling some illusion magic to try and distract the creature, and try to convince it that he's a powerful wizard, and wizards are poisonous to eat, as all trolls should know. And so he's captivating the troll. Meanwhile, while he's doing that, Aaron is down in the water, and he did manage to swim to the shore, though, which is good, because drowning is a very real threat in a medieval style world. So Aaron started to sneak back up, and he sees Josh captivating this troll, and he starts sneaking up on him, getting ready to sneak attack him, because as I mentioned, Aaron always plays a Kender, and whenever possible he'll play a rogue as well, a Kender rogue. Up on the ledge, meanwhile, James, he's unaware of any of this. He's been continuing on. He just wants to get out of these mountains, get to Dwarf Home, and retire, never travel again, probably. But he comes to the top of the ramp, the ledge, up on the cliff, and it ends in a crude palisade decorated with skulls and dead animals and totems. and he rolls his knowledge, and he recognizes it all, like this is an orc encampment for sure. And so he moves up on it again stealthily, and when he gets up to the wall, he's trying to hide, look around the wall and see what's going on, and he notices the gate is like kind of swinging open slightly. It's like listing, it's not locked. He kind of sneaks his head in the gate and looks in, and he sees like the aftermath of a massacre. There's just dead orcs everywhere, women, children, men with their arms and armor laying on the ground. There's crows pecking at them. A horrible stank coming off. There's flies everywhere. But there's a big bonfire right in the middle of the orc encampment, and sitting around it, surrounding it, are beastmen, celebrating their victory over the orcs, probably from the battle that kicked off the session. So they're sitting around, they're eating the orcs' food and drinking all the orcs' ale, which can't be of good quality, but beastmen don't care. Everything's delicious to a beastman. So James starts to sneak in because he sees at the back of the encampment, like it's built up against a cliff. At the back of it, there's a deep cave that runs in, and he's thinking he needs to get through this cave. Probably comes out somewhere, and that's his only way out because he can't go back. This is the only way forward. So he's rolling stealth. I think he got to the other side of the beastmen, and someone, and he failed his stealth check. Someone came out of a tent, a female beastman, a fawn, and saw him. She screamed, and he screamed, and all the other beastmen turned towards him. He's on the far side of the bonfire, right in front of the cave mouth, and he panicked, and he started to run, but he didn't run into the cave. He ran towards the beastmen. He jumped over the bonfire, ran between all of them. He's running out of the encampment. So the beastmen, they're shocked at first, and he runs past them, jumping over their fire, and then they grab all their weapons. They chase right after him. And so he's running down the ledge path now towards the waterfall. Under the waterfall there, in the dry spot, under the overhang, Josh is hypnotizing his troll while Aaron is sneaking up on him to backstab him. So they're doing this, and before Aaron can get to the troll, because he's got to sneak all the way back up the path, before Aaron can get to the troll, James comes running through the midst of this, between Josh and the troll, breaking the troll's trance. And they hear the pounding hoofs and the battle cries of the beastmen. Josh looks panicked. He doesn't know what to do. And then Aaron breaks from his cover, and he tackles Josh. He spears him right in the side. He pushes him off the ledge. And they both go falling off the ledge again and into the waterfall, and whoosh, and shoots him down into the lake again. So they're trying to swim, and now they start drowning. And James runs all the way down there, and he wades into the water to try to save them from drowning. Eventually, they managed to get under control, and they got pulled out onto the beach. And they were looking back and wondering, like, why didn't any beastmen show up and kill us? While we were trying to drown, why didn't they throw some javelins or throwing axe? So they started to head back up the path. Like good adventurers should, they're very curious about what happened to the beastmen. They started to head back up to the path. And there's signs of a terrific struggle. There's like blood and dust and upturned stones and some drop weapons outside the front of the cave. They look in the cave, and there's the troll sitting there. And the leader of the beastmen was a minotaur, and he's hacking at the minotaur's head. He's holding it in his hand. He's trying to carve it out, trying to carve out his head so he can wear his head like a hat. This big rock troll. So the party, they have successfully now dealt with the beastmen. So they start headed back up the trail because they don't want to do any deal with this troll. You know, trolls are extremely dangerous, and the Warhammer system we were using is extremely dangerous. So they've had their fill of this troll, of Grog. So they head back up through the destroyed orc encampment. They head into the cave, and they've only gone down the cave a little ways when they find that the way is barred. There's another kind of like a crude palisade in the cave with a gate, a door. You know, they passed some side caves as well, but this is like the main route. They pass some side tunnels. So they come to the gate, and this one is locked, and when they try it, you know, they hear like someone waking up on the other side, you know, and they see this orc kind of peering out at them through the cracks in the gate, you know, and he asks if they're there to parley again, because he thinks that it's the beastmen who have returned, because they've been locked in here by the beastmen. They're forced back into their own cave for shelter, and they're being besieged. So he asks if they're there for more terms, and Josh takes over the negotiations at first, and he tells them that they only want passage through the other side, and they'll let them be. Oh yes, the orcs think these are great terms, you know, and then the orcs ask, "Well, how many want to pass through the domain of the orcs?" And Aaron pipes up, Aaron Kenderson, the Kender, in real life, the real life Kender, he pipes up, "There's 3 of us." And then Josh looks at him, he's like, don't tell them there's only 3 of us. And they start immediately pretty much start to turn around, like back away, backpedal, and then the gate like bursts open, all these battle orcs come charging out, these enormous black mountain orcs. So they start running off. They run off one of those side tunnels that they passed. And they're just sprinting through this side tunnel. And, you know, they sprint through and they see, like, briefly, like a cave mouth that leads out into the sunshine, the bright air. So they start to head for that. And just as they hit the lip of this cave, you know, roll reflex save, because it opens in thin air. It's just a hole in the cliff face. So, you know, Aaron's there, you know, he's teetering on the edge, and James grabs him and pulls him back in. And they turn around, getting ready to make their last stand against these orcs coming in after them. And then they as they're waiting, getting their arms set, they look around and they notice that there's like an enormous bird's nest in here, and there's bones of animals and beastman bones all over the place. And then from the depths of one of these nests, a head pops up, 2 feline eyes blinking at them, and you know, at first I think it's a mountain lion, and it starts to crawl out, and then they see the bat wings, the scorpion tail, and they realize they've stumbled into the lair of a manticore. And just as the manticore is getting ready to pounce on them, the orcs charge in, you know, screaming, as orcs are wont to do in battle. And this startles the mountain lion, is almost in mid-pounce. Almost, it hasn't quite jumped yet. But as they come in, it readjusts, and it leaps right onto the lead orc, and just starts chewing on his face. The party decides to take this manticore on as an ally, and they charge in. You know, they're fighting the orcs, the manticore at their side, trying not to get too close to the manticore because it will eat them as well. But eventually they managed to, they weren't even trying to like engage. They were just trying to fight their way back through, so they did. They fought their way back around to where they could sneak down the tunnel while the orcs fought the manticore, you know, successfully overcoming the manticore, I guess, in theory. So they headed back down to where the orcs' tunnel was, and they snuck into the orc tunnels where they'd been sieged up, and now they're rolling really, really good on their stealth, and they're getting through. You know, they're hiding in the shadows, they're sneaking under beds, they're you know, crawling over barrels and crates that are stacked up to the ceiling. You know, they're doing really good stealth-based mission style, and they come through the final passage to get out of the orc tunnels, out into the rest of the mountains. And the final passage, of course, is the throne room of the Troll King, of the leader of the orcs. And it's this big empty room. It's all carved down, as well as orcs know how to carve anything. You know, so it's got some pillars up in the corners, got an enormous stone throne, sized for the Troll King. He's sitting on it, you know, chewing on a leg of mutton. This is bronze crown hanging off his head at a jilted angle. And so they try to sneak through and sneak past the Troll King and his bodyguards. This doesn't go so well for them, and they end up in a huge brawl against the Troll King and his bodyguards. You know, Josh starts to unleash his magic that he's been holding in reserve. James, I believe, had a spear, and Aaron had acquired a mace. These are weapons they've been using, and they managed to fight their way through again, get to the door. The door's locked. The Troll King, they notice, has an enormous key around his neck on a bronze chain. Aaron is picking the lock while Josh and James are holding off the orcs and trying the Troll King. Eventually, Aaron gets the door. They start to rush out, and the Troll King, you know, he's standing amidst the bodies of his bodyguards because the party's been dealing some hits on them, laying them out. The Troll King starts taunting Aaron, calling him a coward. Well, just the whole party in general. But Aaron took it personally, as a Kender should. And Aaron turned around and he said, "I'm not going to put up with this from the Troll King." "You think you're better than me, Troll King? I'll show you. I challenge you to single combat." He goes up and he's got his light mace, you know, and he's like 5'6", and the Troll King is 9'6". And all the surviving orcs kind of stand back, and the Troll King laughs at him. He gets his enormous hammer. He just goes to crush him. Aaron starts juking and jiving, trying to engage in a duel with the Troll King. He's smacking him in the kneecap over and over and over with his light mace. He's trying to drop him down, you know. "Hey, Troll King, how's your kneecap?" "Boom! How about now?" Oh, and he's still standing. He's throwing the hammer, and you know, he thought he was doing well. He landed a lot of hits, but the Troll King finally walloped him. Just brought the hammer down right on his chest, pounded him into the ground. You know, 0 hit points. Burn your fate point. Do not die. So Aaron's laid out. Troll King's getting ready to step on him, and then the rest of the part, James and Josh, been kind of standing in the doorway watching this, like, watch the fight, and then look at the door. We should run. Watch the fight. You know, look at the door. We should help him. Panic setting in. When they see him go down, James just yells, and he gets his spear, and he charges in, and he stabs the Troll King in the gut. The Troll King doesn't care. He's still not that badly hurt. But while he's doing, so he stabbed the Troll King. Josh blasts him in the face with like some minor lightning magic, and then James grabs Aaron's body and just starts frantically dragging him away, trying to get him to safety. They get outside, slam the door. You know, they manage to lock the door from the other side. I think actually during the fight somewhere, Aaron had snatched the key off of the Troll King's neck as it was attached, being a rogue. I think he got like some kind of free steal attack or some such, or steal items. So he had the key and they locked it from the other side. The Troll King's banging on the door, trying to get out so he can pursue them. But they finally made it out. You know, the nightmare was over. The adventure had ended. And it was a lot of fun. Probably as much fun as you could pack into a one-shot, into a 4-hour session. So I thought I'd share that with you and give you kind of a purview of how to do a one-shot, a little bit about keeping the action intense, keep it dangerous, offer a couple of those little side quests or mini sandbox, you know, where they could go in the forest or the mountains, and then in the cave they could go for the manticore route or they could go for the orc route. And they didn't pursue it, but the manticore route, it did have an alternate way around as well. You know, there were multiple ways to succeed, which is exactly what you want. So I hope that was entertaining. The session really was entertaining. You know, I'll be remembering it for a while. So y'all have yourselves a nice day. I'm going to be signing out.